Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Exploring Careers. You're joined by me, Mitch, from the team here at Explore Careers. And today we're lucky enough to be joined by Josh, who is coming to us from Moorabool Shire Council. Thank you so much for jumping on today, Josh.
Thanks so much, Mitch. I'm really excited to be here and talk all things Moorabool.
Excited to get stuck into it. Now, before we do get started, can you just talk to us a bit about Moorabool for those who, don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. So Moorabool's a local government regional shire. So we're what's called a peri-urban council. So we're basically on the metropolitan border, but sit on the rural side of that currently. So we do everything every other council does, but it's a little bit smaller, a little more refined, and that real inherent rural community focus. So we're very community orientated. We have a workforce of around 400 staff, give or take. So we're a very small council. At the same time, we do everything that big councils do. We just do it a little bit differently. So it's a really nice country community feel about Moorabool and a really nice place to work.
Awesome. No, I love that. And when you talk about, doing things that other councils do or what normal councils, bigger councils would do.
Yep.
So what is that? Is that looking after the infrastructure, the running of what's happening inside the council and your municipality? Can you talk to us about the types of things that you're looking after on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, definitely. So we're really the wheels, if you will, that keep the Moorabool Shire Council ticking along. So we've got sort of three distinct streams, I'd put it like that. So we have like an infrastructure and planning stream, which very much focusing on the building, the project management, the contract management, the roads, all the establishments, all the new developments that are coming in. Our incredibly qualified and hardworking team look after all that component. Then we've got like a community element, if you will. So our nurses, our age services workers, we've got our youth workers, our community planners. So they're doing all the community infrastructure planning and delivering all those incredibly beneficial community-based services. We've then got a corporate stream where I sit in currently, where the corporate stream looks after the internal components of Moorabool. So our HR, our IT, our finance, our comms, all the things that happen behind the scenes that most people don't know about. And it's quite common in local government that you see the buildings, you see the school crossing supervisors and the local laws officers and these bits and pieces, but we also have a really big internal service provider that looks after all of our people, that pays them, that manages the finances, that gets the newspaper articles written. So very diverse portfolio of streams within a relatively small council, as I was saying.
Awesome. No, and I am excited to get to that, and we will get to that a bit later on in regards to, I guess, the preconceptions and misconceptions that people might have and only seeing one set thing when not realising, the breadth of opportunities and the breadth of roles which are actually available. But we'll get to that, as I said. Before we get there, can you just talk to us a bit about your personal role and what you're doing? You mentioned you're in the corporate stream. Sure. So what's your role and what's your day-to-day job, I guess?
Yeah, so my title's the Executive Manager of People and Culture. So I manage the HR team. We've got 11 employees and then myself in the HR team. So we look after all of the payroll, the occupational health and safety, what we call organisational development. So our training, our culture, our performance planning, our reward, our succession, and then what we call our workplace relations team. So those that are looking after recruitment, injury management, and then all the nitty-gritty HR things where we have disciplinary issues, we have issues pertaining to our award and enterprise agreement. So my role looks after an incredible team, a fantastically talented team and a great bunch of people. My role also sits on the executive team at council, so involved with that sort of strategic executive decision-making. And it's been sort of a growth for myself. I've worked in HR for too long, nearly 18 years now, and sort of grown through the ranks, if you will. Started in the OD L&D space, moved into the HR space, and have been lucky enough to secure an executive role with Moorabool. So we're very people focused. Our role is all about our people, keeping them safe, keeping them happy, keeping them well trained, supporting them if they get injured, ensuring that they're treated well, and if they're not treated well, how we work with them to ensure that we change things to ensure that happens. And as I said, very importantly for most people at council, making sure they get paid on a fortnightly basis.
No, exactly. I'm sure most people, that for them, that's probably the most important thing. But
Generally,
how did you come into this, into working in the HR field, and then with Moorabool specifically? Like, is this something you were always keen on? Like, can you take us back to your, earlier days back at high school, and what's kind of led you to this point?
Yeah, definitely. So high school, I was probably like most, I was a little bit unsure of what my future held. I know I really enjoyed working with people. So I looked at a few streams sort of through year 11 and 12 around what constituted working with people. I had a look at youth work. I had a look at counselling. I was quite interested in psychology. And then this whole sort of field of HR sort of dropped in my lap through my career counsellor in year 11 back in high school. And it had so much diversity. It was very people focused, but it was about training and development, which I really, really liked. And it was about making people happy through culture. And then there was the parts around safety, and even then those parts around, the award and discrimination, harassment and bullying. And I ended up studying HR at uni and thought, let's see where it goes. And my first role outside of uni was in that sort of L&D, OD space. I then did some additional qualifications in training and assessment, in facilitation, got right into the emotional intelligence space. So learning more about sort of people's minds and what makes them tick and how it works. And was lucky enough to move into a few decent roles in the CBD. I worked for a few councils in there, and then also a state government department in that L&D, OD space. Probably getting towards my late 20s, started to realise there was more about HR. So sort of transitioned my focus into more of the generalist HR space, looking at recruitment, looking at injury management, looking at that employer relations and industrial relations, which is sometimes sort of the less publicised side of HR. And I did a decade at a local government council in the West, which was an incredible experience. Had this burning desire internally to tick the executive box. I've always wanted to work in an executive role and sort of have that more strategic oversight, but then also be in that decision-making chair, which is both nerve-wracking and sometimes you go, oh, well, there's so many decisions to be made, but that really drives me. So when the job at Moorabool came up, I went through an application process now 13 months ago and was lucky enough to be selected as a candidate. So it's been sort of, an 18, 20-year journey for me, but really started on me focusing on, did I want to work with cars? Did I want to work, with people? Did I want to work with aeroplanes? And I guess what it came down to for me was it was about people. I wanted to integrate with people, and HR was the field that was most attractive to me. But I got to throw back to my career counsellor in year 11 because I really didn't know what HR meant at that stage. And so I was more looking at the psych stream and the youth stream and things like that. And lucky for that great person that shed light on HR. And now here we are nearly 20 years later, sitting in the seat still.
Awesome. Well, obviously kicking goals at the moment, mate, and we love to hear the shout outs to the old career advisors of years gone by. So love giving them a shout out. Well, what's your favourite part? You obviously mentioned you've been with Moorabool. I think you mentioned 13, 14 months now. So what's your favourite part about working, there and with the team there? I imagine, by the sounds of it, very people focused and culture focused. What's your favourite part of coming into work every day, do you think?
Yeah, the best part about HR is that you don't know what you're going to get every day. So, I drive to work or work from home some days as well in the environment that we have. And I'll log onto my computer and I've got usually a calendar full of meetings and people to see and chat to. But any minute of any day that I'm at work, something different can be thrown up. We could have a call from a staff member saying, I'm really keen to advance my career. I want to be a manager one day. Can you help me? Absolutely, we can. And we work through a process. We might get a call. We've had some sort of accident in one of the depots, which we hope we never have, and we need to come out and look from an OH&S perspective. We go out and do that. We might have changes in government legislation. We always get changes around super, around awards, around agreements, and literally with 60 seconds notice, these things can come up. So I love the fact that you've got to be agile. You've got to think on your feet every day. But I really love the fact that everything we do is for the betterment of our people. So whether it's to help, support, guide, create something different, innovate, push Moorabool to the next, echelon of local government, everything we do has people at the centre. And just getting the email once in a while from one of our employees saying, thank you, I went to a really great training session today and it was fantastic. Our team brought a coffee van out to the workplace yesterday to celebrate some successes we'd have internally, and we had our staff go and get a free cup of coffee in the morning. And get people sending through photos, meeting with colleagues, saying, I know it's only a small thing, but that was fantastic. We got such a buzz out of it. That's what drives me. Driving me is knowing that we're making a positive difference for people in the organisation. And that's why I get up every day and log onto my computer and work as hard as we do.
Awesome. No, I love to hear that. Now, you've obviously spoken, in what you've just said then and your previous comments, there's a lot going on, a lot of different moving pieces, a lot of different parts. And as we touched off at the top, would be, and I know from my personal experience, we're working with you guys for a while and talking to different people, there's often preconceptions and there are often misconceptions about careers in local government or working in council. There's a very set view on this is what it is, and that's all there is to it. Obviously, I know there's a lot more to it, as well, but for those people who out there who maybe do have that singular view, can you help debunk some of the common misconceptions that you come across?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I first flirted with the idea of working in local government, it was sort of the old school roads, rates and rubbish. That's what local government does. We fix roads, we process rates, and we pick up rubbish. And while we do all those three things, my goodness, we do so much more than that. So to give you an idea, like you might walk into a lunchroom, say at Moorabool, if you ever elected to come and work with us, and if there were 10 people around a table, you might be sitting next to a qualified nurse, a qualified youth worker, you might have an engineer, a planner, a building inspector, you might have a local laws officer, a school crossing supervisor. You might then look to the other end of the table and you've got a qualified lawyer, you've got a finance specialist, you've got an IT web designer, you've got a OHS specialist, a HR generalist. Then you look outside and you've got mechanics, you've got people that are resealing roads and surfaces, you've got those environmental specialists that are out there assessing, pollution statistics and things like that. You look to the other side of the table, you've got people working with elderly citizens, you've got people running workshops and forums. Other side of the table, you've got general managers, you've got CEOs who are leading the direction of this organisation in conjunction with the other 76 councils in Victoria. And there's such a myriad of people. Like we've literally got, 17 service units, 380 odd staff. And most of them do very different things, very different qualifications. So to debug that myth, you walk into local government and you've probably got upwards of people that have 150, 200 different qualifications with different backgrounds and different skill sets. So if one is seeking diversity, I don't think there's a better platform to work than in local government. We literally have everything in local government, some smaller scale, of course, but even safety, first aid, all these sort of things are part of what we do. So I'd really strongly suggest that anyone who's thinking about career, post high school, or even starting that process of educating themselves during high school, local government is your first starting point, because I reckon you'll find that 9 out of 10 jobs we legitimately do in local government.
No, I think that's amazing. I think the breadth of opportunity is something you'd be hard pressed to find anywhere else. As you mentioned, the opportunities are seemingly endless with what you can do. And as I mentioned, you're going to be hard pressed to find another organisation, another industry that gives you that many different opportunities to work within. So I think it's a really great place to not only start your career, but grow and continue and develop your career the whole way through your career journey. Now, one thing I know you'd be big on is the work culture, and it's something that is probably more important now than ever before, especially with what we've been through throughout the world over the past few years. It's something that's super important to people in regards to making sure they're in a workplace that is inclusive, is diverse, helps them maintain a healthy work-life balance. People now so more than ever want to make sure that, if they're feeling sick, they can easily work from home, or they don't have to come into work. And if they need to duck off early, they can to pick up the kids from school, they can do so. That work flexibility is really important to people now. So is that something that you think Moorabool and I know it kind of falls under your umbrella, something which you're really proud of what you've been able to do there?
Yeah, I feel, it's obviously a biased opinion at this point in time, but I feel we're really leading the way with flexibility. We've got a really strong policy as it pertains to flexibility. And what we call it is a one-size-fits-one approach. So yes, we've got an overarching policy, but flexibility means different things to different people. I'm a father. I have 2 young children at home, and I have a senior role at council, and being there for my boys is very important. To do the odd school pick up and drop off, to attend sports days and things like that are important to me. So I've been able to generate an arrangement with my supervisor where I'm afforded that flexibility to come in a bit later on one day to do a drop off and take off a bit earlier another day to do a pick up. And if there's a school concert on a Friday, I can take off and make up the hours at a different time. So we're a little bit further out in the west, if you will, than other councils. So we appreciate that some of our people will come from the CBD or the eastern suburbs, and that extra 15, 20 minutes in the car, could be the deciding factor. So if we can then say to someone, well, work from home a few days, work from a different location a few days, work part-time if you'd like, come in later, finish later, leave earlier and things like that, we feel that can be a really good trigger to say to people, come and work at Moorabool and we'll look after you like that. So flexibility is massive for us. It's the tagline on all of our job ads. It's taglined everywhere through our lunchrooms and so forth. So we're really proud of the flexibility we offer, and anyone that comes to work with us, very open to having conversations about what that flexibility looks like. Awesome.
No, absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Now, people who are listening to what you're saying, they're getting fired up, they're getting excited, wanting to run through a brick wall. What are the next steps from here? So for people who are listening and are thinking, you know what, this sounds great. Like I want to get started. I want to, investigate this further and work out how I get my foot in the door. What are the next steps from here, and what attributes are you looking for in people potentially coming in?
Yeah, there's 2 elements to that. So we have a new traineeship framework that we've just been releasing at the moment. So someone's interested in getting into the organisation and just getting a feel for what things are like. We have trainees in HR, in finance. We have them in our family services area, looking to broaden into comms and engineering and planning in the future too. So a traineeship would certainly be a first point for those that aren't quite sure what their future holds, but want to dabble in a few different areas. And we have partnerships with a few local providers. MEGT is one, and facilitating new arrangements as we speak. So reaching out to those traineeship providers would be a really good starting point. We advertise through that, we do them regularly, and we always love to support those that are around our municipality to keep the love internally, if you will. Outside of that, just reach out to us at council and reach out to the HR department. We've got a customer service centre at Moorabool. Obviously, drop a phone call, and we're only too happy to talk. You'll never get anybody at our council that will say too busy or ring back later. Someone wants to know what we do, how we do it, we'd love to do that. If local schools want us to come out and do presentations on local government and talk to the students about what a career might look like, we'd love to do that. So the best advice I could give would be pick up the phone or open the laptop, send us an email, give us a phone call, and let's just chat. The conversation is something we're always happy to have, and we couldn't be happy to do so. From an attribute perspective, it's a good question. We just look for someone that's got some drive and passion. I mean, I appreciate students coming out of school are going to have limited experience in this sort of a workforce, and they're not going to be qualified through their eyeballs, and that doesn't worry me in the slightest. I'd love to work with people that simply want to work. They want to come into an organisation, they want to learn, they want to make a difference, they want to understand how they can add value. And if someone's got that energy, and you get major ticks in my box. So as long as they're keen to learn, to come in and try new things, and work in a fast-paced environment and can be quite agile, I think they're the key attributes for commencing a career in the local government sector.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think it's more important when people ever ask me about, similar questions and what's the most important thing. I tend to say, don't worry about what piece of paper you've got. I think the willingness to have a go and give things a crack is definitely the most important. Now, last question I want to leave you on today is just advice you'd give. So we're going to have a lot of young people watching this who are going through their high schooling at the moment. So might be in year 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever it may be. And it's often a really stressful time because you're tasked with making a lot of big decisions at a relatively young age. So you're asked to make decisions in regards to subject choices and are you going to uni, are you going to TAFE, are you going to go straight into the workforce, all of this type of stuff, when realistically you're 16 more worried about what's going on the weekend. So it's a bit of a funny situation because, you know, it's a lot of pressure at a really young age, and you're asked to make these big decisions when you're often not really equipped or ready to. So what advice would you give to those people watching this today, knowing what you know now, for those people who are kind of living through that at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'd say is never stop worrying about what's going to happen on the weekend, because no matter whether you're working or not, I think balancing that work life is really important. So again, at 16, I had no aspirations of working in government or anything like that. I was young and wanted to experience all that life had to offer. But I guess what I started to do towards that end of year 10, start of year 11, was not determine what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, was more determine what things I want to be involved in when I do enter the workforce. And so, as I said earlier, you know, I never really had an affiliation for using my hands that much. So, you know, the apprenticeships, building, carpentry, plumbing, sparky and that sort of stuff, I went, yeah, it intrigues me, but I don't think that's where I want to go down moving forward. Then I sort of went into, well, you know, what do I really like doing? You know, what drives me? And that's where I sort of realized, you know, people is what I want to do. So then I sort of went, well, you know, I don't want to do medicine, which I was never smart enough to do for the record, but, you know, do I want to help people from a medical perspective? So then, nah, not like that. You know, do I want to engage with people and help them better themselves? Yeah, I do. So then I sort of, was it youth work? Is it counselling? Is it psychology? And then the whole field of HR opened up. So I think the advice I'd give more is don't look 40 years down the track and where you're going to retire. I wouldn't even look 5 years down the track about where you're going to be placed. Have a think about what's going to drive you to get up every morning and go to work. Because school, yeah, by the time you get to 10, 11, 12, you're a bit like, oh, I'm sick of school. Work is a whole different thing. School was a walk in the park compared to work in some cases. So you got to get up, you got to, you know, put your suit on or get your clothes on, drive in, traffic and the rest of it. And you got to love what you do in order to maintain that. So my advice would be, again, don't worry about which company, what role, what sector. Think about what's going to drive you to get up every day. Is it fixing something, building something, creating something beautiful? Is it people? Is it travel? Is it, it could be a million things. Have a think about what's going to drive and engage you. And then you can work back from there and go, okay, once I know what's going to make me get up every morning and put a smile on my face, what careers could potentially align to that? And the advice I give from that perspective is, again, don't feel you have to lock yourself into something early on. You might work in 3 or 4 different career paths and 5 or 6 different organizations. That's a really healthy thing because that's about learning and experience. So think about what's going to make you get up every morning, what's going to put a smile on your face, and then work out what sort of roles or industries would comply with that. And then just dabble. Go in there and have a crack, as you said. Have a crack. Go in, learn as much as you can. If it's working, move forward and prosper. If it's not, and you're not getting that great feeling, try something different. Like, the market will be really open for the next few years coming out of the COVID environment. There's so many jobs available at the moment. Go out and get that experience, and then, you know, in your 20s, even even late 20s in some cases, you might then go, this is the direction I'm going to stick at moving forward. But there's nothing wrong with going out and experiencing a myriad of different things to help you decide, you know, where you're eventually going to end up and what you're going to do for the remainder of your career.
No, exactly right. I couldn't agree more. Keep an open mind, give things a crack. You'll soon work out, you know, what it is that you're suited to. And as you mentioned as well, enjoy school. It's some of the best years of your life. I know that if I could jump in a time machine and give myself a smack around the head, I would, because I was so focused on the future at school, and kind of forgot or didn't realise how much of a great experience it was, you know, going to school every day with my mates, kicking the footy at lunchtime. Like, it was great. And as you said again there's nothing wrong with giving things a crack, you know, well into it doesn't matter how old you are. I'm 30 now and I've got mates who have tried things and are literally going back to uni now because they've found that what they have been doing, they're not loving. So they've gone back to uni to do something that they realise they have done. So there's no right or wrong way of doing things. Of course, you're always going to have that person or a couple of friends who do have absolutely everything worked out and they know exactly where they're going to be. And that's great and good for them. But don't compare yourselves to those people, because there's no right or wrong way of doing it. And if it takes you a few years and you need to try a few things, then go for it. I don't think you realise how much time you've got in front of you until you get a bit older like us. But Josh, it's been so great chatting to you today. Thank you so much for talking to us about your own personal career story, about Moorabool, about careers in local government and the breadth of opportunity available. Of course, if you are keen on learning more of what Josh has had to say has got you excited and you do want to learn more and see how you can get started and learn more about careers at Moorabool and in local government, you can obviously visit the Moorabool Shire Council profile on explorecareers.com.au. We've got all the information there that you could possibly need to get you started, all the relevant links where you can link off and find your direction, contact details, all the rest of it. So if you are keen, please do visit those links and get started, as Josh mentioned, even if it's just picking up the phone and getting the ball rolling that way. So Josh, it's been so great having a chat to you. Thank you so much for your time again today.
I really appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure. So thanks for the time.